Greetings, my friends. Good to see you again. Today, as before, we will listen to another short simple story. Let me remind you that this is one of the letters sent once to the newspaper's editorial office, where I had the honor to work as an editor. But the format of the newspaper did not allow publishing all the letters sent, and so they accumulated quite a lot. But I won't waste time. Make yourself comfortable and we'll get started.
I will soon be 29 years old. I live in a small town. Yes, as I live, I rather exist. As a child before school, I lived well by the standards of my concepts. My parents worked, my grandmother sat with me, and we spent most of our time in the village. I've been weird since I was a kid. My health was poor because I was the only late child. I was shaken, wrapped up, protected. I didn't have any friends. I couldn't communicate with other children. I liked to live in my own world. I liked to indulge in various fantasies, twisting papers in a special way and shaking them surreptitiously, running around the room. My mother found them and scolded me, saying that it was not normal. When I grew up and learned to read, I plunged into the world of books. I read a lot and enjoyed the emotions I got from it. I also liked to draw and ride a bike. When school started, it was hard for me. Not in terms of studies, I studied perfectly for 8 years in a row. It was hard for me because there were so many children around. I wasn't very good at communicating with people, and they laughed. No, I socialized with some people, went for walks, but over time I became a kind of outcast. Plus, in high school, I started having problems with grades in exact subjects, and I got B's. I got hit at home for it, and I felt like a failure. I had to live in a walk-through room with my parents. I constantly felt a lack of personal space. I wanted to go to study as an artist. My parents were not against it. I finished school with a few B's, but I didn't go to the prom because I couldn't connect with my classmates. I started to go where I wanted to go. I got a B on my exams, and I didn't get accepted to the institute, so I offered to go to college. I went to Washington with my mother, passed my exams in the food industry, and was accepted to study as a technologist. I was happy at the institute. I studied almost perfectly. I managed to keep up. In the group, I was not able to establish relations with everyone, but, in general, I was treated normally. I communicated with some. Friends appeared. In general, I can't just communicate like other people. I can only be friends, that is, closely attached to a person. I have a relationship with guys. I was pretty enough to get noticed. Over the course of 5 years, I met many people, but something went wrong. The relationship lasted several months. At first there was euphoria, and then as it passed, there was a lack of emotions. I changed them like gloves, hoping to meet the one. The institute ended, and I found a job before I graduated. After changing a few places, I found a very good job for me in the city, stable, and fortunately I was sitting in the office alone. For me, it was still problematic to be in a team and interact. But I was able to adapt there. My personal life was a mess. I was dating 2 guys at once. I still don't understand why I did it, for the sake of emotions, I guess. In the end, I was left with the one who treated me badly, humiliated me. My parents didn't like him, and his mother didn't like him either. We were completely unsuited to each other. We had no common interests, especially since he had bad habits. But I didn't know why I chose him. Eventually this led to the fact that I was pregnant. We got married. I was happy and waiting for the birth of a child. We lived separately. I got my own house, and I was freed from the yoke of parental care. With my husband too, at that time the relationship was quite good, without quarrels. And then a daughter was born, and everything began to fall apart. I was under a lot of stress after giving birth. In short, my husband did not support me, went to all lengths, and I divorced him 6 months later. There were courts, lawsuits, and clarifications. As a result, he abandoned the child, abandoned her completely. I was a single mother. I had to contact my parents again because I can't do anything without help. I was kicked out of my job because I went on maternity leave. I had to find another one. My daughter is 4 years old and I work for 1.5 of them. My mother is sitting with her. I hate my life and I don't want to live it. More precisely, I am not interested in my life. After we were alone, I tried to get myself in order, my thoughts, and set myself up for the best. But it didn't work out. Work at work, it's too hard for me physically. I'm pulling with the last of my strength. All my chronic sores have worsened. Constantly ill health and pain. I live on pills. I'd like to change jobs, but I can't. I was looking for and thinking about different options. The town is small, the choice of work is minimal. I could afford an easier one if I lived without a child. But I have to support her alone, so I can't afford it. I work 5 days a week and fall down after work. I live in a former dormitory in a room of 16 squares. Daughter with mother. I take her home every weekend in the winter, and now I go to their dacha in the summer. My dependence on my parents is complete and absolute. I love my daughter, but she is a very difficult child. Whims, tantrums, screams. I feel sorry for her. I try to give her as much attention as I can, but I just feel empty inside. I consider it a huge mistake that I gave birth to her. She is unhappy, my mother is unhappy, and I am unhappy. A man like me doesn't need to have children at all. They say the meaning of life is children. What is it? Does it make sense? I was raised, and I am unhappy. I suffer. I will grow it, and it will also suffer. At least I had a father, but she doesn't have one. Why all this? But nothing can be fixed. To get married again, to try their luck. I don't want. I meet a man from another city, he comes once a week. Not a bad man, he was in love with me. But we have no options for the future. I can't go to another city, it's impossible to live with me. And I don't think anyone can get along with my daughter's tantrums. And why would a child need a strange man? Why should I? I don't want to create anything. I don't want to be disappointed again. I hate myself for every error that is blamed for every wrong step I took. I realize with horror that my life is just a string of mistakes. I don't know how to live like other people. That's why I was always different from others. I was not accepted. I'm a loner and an outcast, a loser. It's my own fault that I live like this. I stopped enjoying life in general. I don't expect anything. I don't want anything. I indulge more and more in my fantasies, as in my childhood. This is the only joy. I started writing stories and posting them online. This is the only thing that pleases and inspires me. And in everyday life there is nothing but problems. And I know that nothing will change. Work to wear out, difficulties with the child, constant pain, fatigue and relationships about nothing, or even loneliness. I understand that I don't love anyone in my life. I just don't know how to love. I only need the emotions that I take from my fantasies. I don't want to talk to anyone or see anyone at all. I try to avoid people as much as possible now. There are almost no friends left because they are no longer interested in me. I used to try to rebuild my thinking, read literature, and set myself up. But now she gave up, realizing the futility of it. I wake up every morning thinking that I don't want to live. I don't want to solve these problems. I don't want to suffer or pain. I just want to sit alone so that no one is around, not even my family. I used to believe in God, went to the temple. Now I just can't. I've lost my faith completely. There is a God, but I don't have the strength to live according to the church's laws. I would very much like to go somewhere far away from my hometown, where it is warm, but because of the child it is impossible. I started drinking alcohol, but because of taking medication, Even this does not work out. Most likely, I have mental problems. The reluctance to live is growing every day. I don't know why I wrote all this. Probably no one to share it with. My family will tell you, you must live. I've always had to, but I don't want to. How to stop all this, I don't know.
So we heard another simple story. Although it is short, it is not at all banal. What do you think about it? Write your thoughts in the comments to this video, and of course do not forget to subscribe to the channel so as not to miss the release of new videos. See you again, friends. See you again soon. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Sincerely yours, Vadim.